What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 101 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast.
You never thought it would get this far, did you?
Never thought it would get this far. Triple digits.
20 weeks in, IRS would show up, shut down Kind of Funny, but here we are.
You guys can't do that.
They never figured out that Kevin is just funneling all the money.
That's what he does. That's what he does. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. This is a very special episode. The first one of 2017. And the Kind of Funny Game of the Year. Extravaganza.
Game of the year, game of the year.
Yeah, shout out to Malik.
Yeah, what up, Malik?
Doing his thing. Where's he at now? What's he up to?
He's at,
He was at Nerdist.
is he not at Nerdist anymore?
I think he left Nerdist.
No, I didn't know that.
Anyway, whatever.
Malik, wherever you are, we still love you.
We do. We're going to do the same thing that we did last year, which is each one of us is going to give our top 10 games of the year. I'm sure there'll be a fair amount of honorable mentions. And then the last topic will be us discussing what we think the Kind of Funny Game of the Year is.
Okay.
It's going to be a good time. I'm going to start it off. If you didn't know, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast, brought to you by Steven Insler, our Patreon producer extraordinaire. We love you very, very, very much. This is Kind of Funny Gamescast. We talk about video games, all things we love about them. And this I feel like is a very fitting episode.
Celebration.
Because it's celebrating the year. The year in games, all things we loved about these games. You can get the show on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames early or get it late on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Remember last 2 episodes ago when we were talking about how I don't have a spiel that I do in the beginning?
Yeah.
I just kind of fucking roll with it.
Yeah.
Didn't even mention Patreon or YouTube in the last episode.
You don't need to. They knew back then.
They just
2 weeks
know.
ago in episode 99, it was a more instant time.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
Different time.
Yeah.
We're recording 2 episodes back to back and they're out.
No, don't tell that. No, people don't know. They don't know that.
No, they won't figure that one out.
They'll just be like, man, they wore the same outfits.
Same clothes. But there is a week gap.
Exactly. No one will remember. You
Who
fucked
knows?
it up.
We didn't record episode 100 yet. Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
What if one
Kevin
of us
might
gets
be a cyborg?
I was going to say,
what
what if we get a scar? What if it gets a scar between now and then? You know what I mean? I got a candidate
who do you think
get
it would
kicked
be?
by a mule.
You think it'd be Colin?
No, Colin's not getting a
You
scar.
ain't got no scar?
He's gonna get a scar in Mexico down there on the beach,
I don't know.
sitting there drinking Mai Tais.
I'm not gonna drink a Mai Tai, I don't think. No.
You're gonna drink one fucking Mai Tai.
Do it for Greg.
All right.
You gonna drink any fun drinks down there?
No,
No.
I'm not gonna have any fun at all. It's a very serious trip.
You're just gonna be like fully clothed on the beach, like I don't want to get skin cancer again.
We're going to start with my top 10
Top 10 Tim
games
Gettys.
of 2016. Before we get into my top 10, though, I want to get my honorable mentions out of the way early.
Okay.
And just like just things, disclaimers that I want to say for my top 10.
Sure.
My top 10, when I go through it, it's going to be in chronological order of when they released. I don't want them ranked. I don't want whatever. Just like here's the games. But before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to Amplitude. It was one of my top 10 game of the years last year, but that's because it was given to early backers in December. But it came out publicly in January. Amplitude, one of my favorite games of all time. You should definitely check that shit out. Deus Ex Go, fucking fantastic game. Love the Go series. Deus Ex took it to the next level. Not a huge fan of the Deus Ex franchise in the same way. Like I think Hitman's cool, and I obviously love Lara Croft. So Deus Ex, I'm like, but like the game, really good. Mechanics are great. So I want to give it a shout out, but definitely not top 10 quality for me. Video Ball.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, Video
Ball.
Ball.
Fun with Video Ball. Didn't play it enough, so that's why it doesn't get one of the spots. But shout out to you. And then I think that the 2 big ones. Well, Overcooked I think is the other one that I didn't put on my list, but I didn't play it enough and have. I didn't
You're
have
a
the
real
co-op
piece of shit.
experience
You're a
is the
piece of
problem.
shit.
No, I tried. Me and Gia played, but it's like it's a little. We played multiple times. Like there's been a lot.
You live together now. Now you can do it.
I know. She's still learning, so I didn't get to play through enough of the game with a partner for it to like really to make my list. Although I know it's a fucking fantastic game, and every time I played it, I had a blast.
Okay.
But the frustrations outweighed the fun.
Gotcha.
But I was like, if I was playing with one of you guys, then it would have been fantastic.
You'd understand because that's how Colin and I roll.
And then you guys go.
I'm over there making the burgers. He's bringing me the meat. He's plating. He's putting it out there, sending me the dishes. I'm washing the dishes.
You a meat disher? You dishing that meat?
Yeah, I dished the meat. I washed some dishes and cut some onions. And
The thing I love most about that game is the soundtrack. I think it really pulls the whole thing together. It's just so fucking unnecessarily epic, and it's great. But the games that I want to give the mentions to are Fire Emblem, Fates, and Pokemon Sun and Moon. The 2 Nintendo games that you'd expect to make my list. Both of them didn't. This was a way better year in games than I ever gave it credit for until I started making my list of top 10. I'm like, holy shit. The fact that those 2 games didn't make it, it's a good sign because I enjoyed them very much. But Neither of them did something for the franchise that really pushed it forward. I already know what a Fire Emblem game is. I already know what a Pokemon game is. And they were fantastic, but they weren't the most fantastic.
Okay.
So let's get right into it. Disclaimers aside. Number 1, Firewatch. This is a game that I feel gets better over time for me.
Really?
Yes. Thinking back on it, I enjoy it more and more and more every time, like as months pass, where I'm like, as I played it, I was like, it's good, not great. Then the more I thought about it, I'm like, it was great, but not perfect. And I think that that's kind of where I fall.
I was going to say now after more time, it's perfect.
No. It still
Like
still
me with
falls.
Mad Max.
It still falls in the great. But I just think that the things that I enjoyed about the game are what I remember more than the things I didn't like.
Okay.
And I think that's what changed in the moment. The things that I didn't like about it kind of not outweighed, but I thought about them a lot. I gave them a lot of. Just a lot of thought.
You gave them too much weight.
Too much weight. But as it went on, I was just like, no, I liked this game for the characters. I liked this game for the performance. I like this game for the world and for the design of it. The entire, like, the design, not just of the level layout or any of that, or the art style, or whatever.
Art style's fantastic.
But the design of the story and the design of the experience that you have. I feel like it did a really good job of playing with your emotions and making you wonder, is this a horror game? Is this this type of game? Like what's going on? And granted, I feel like there's some issues when it comes to the end in a lot of games like that and movies like that, stories like that have that issue of like having an end that makes you feel good. But as an experience, it gave me emotional. It was an emotional roller coaster, and I think that it's in a good way. And I never felt disappointed with moments. There was moments where I'm like, oh, I feel like I could have liked that more. But overall, shout out to you, Firewatch. Next up, Super Hot.
Super hot.
What a damn good concept for a game. If you haven't played it, available on PC and now Xbox One. I played it on PC. Shooting game / kind of, not, I wouldn't say puzzle game, but it kind of is.
You gotta
in the
think.
sense
It's
you
a
need,
thinking.
You need to think about how to get through each level, and each level's designed with a clear way that the designers wanted you to beat it, but you can beat it in other ways as well. It kind of, now thinking about it, reminds me of the Go games, Deus Ex Go and stuff, where it's just kind of like, hey, get from here to here, you have to figure it out, and like there's clear ways that if you do this, you will die.
What's the mechanic?
The mechanic is when you move, things move. When you stop, nothing moves. So you can kind of wait there, see what's going on, move a little bit, the bullets are flying, and you can kind of like matrix around it in a really cool way. I enjoyed it because it was such a short experience. It was about 2 hours, and that's all it needed to be. It was just like, cool. They really used the mechanic in very interesting ways from level 1 to the final level. They varied the gameplay up constantly, kept throwing new challenges and stuff, and it kept feeling like it ramped up in a nice way. And by the end of it, I was like, man, they really used every single thing that mechanic can use, and they didn't push it too far, and it was fun. Art style was great. The fucking super hot. It's like, what the fuck's going on? I like it.
Yeah.
Big fan.
It had style.
It did have style.
Substance too. but
Oozed in style. But yeah, I think that's the thing, is a lot of these games coming out, these smaller titles, very stylish. That's the easy part nowadays, having the nice art style and graphic direction, whatever. But to have the substance behind it, I think that's the Firewatch arguably lacked a bit of that, but super hot. The gameplay was there for sure. Ratchet and Clank, PS4. God damn, what a good game.
Fun.
And holy shit, seeing that run on a PS4 Pro, did you see it at PSX?
Yeah. It's pretty.
That shit's hot. That shit's fucking hot. Ratchet and Clank always been one of my favorite franchises. And I'm a big 3D platformer guy. Love Mario, always. Love Nintendo games, always. But Ratchet and Clank is special because it kind of took the torch that the Crash Bandicoots and Spyros started on the PlayStation, but we were like, no. This is how you do a 3D platformer. And it defined 3D platformers for me on the PS2 generation. And I think that adding that third-person action vibe to it and the guns and all the crazy insanity, it made its own type of genre in the 3D mascot platformer thing. And the guns became
A huge deal.
A huge deal, much more so than even the platforming. Playing this game, though, remake of the original Ratchet and Clank with a bunch of different changes and stuff, it reminded me of a time where I'm like, I loved the gameplay of the guns and all the different gadgets and shit. And yeah, the platforming isn't really the point. I feel like in some of the other Ratchet and Clanks, they got really experimental with some of them focusing way too much on the platforming and the little soap shoes grinding on the rails and stuff. And it was like, nah.
We talking shit on
And then
Crack
there's
in
other
time.
games that went really far down, like Deadlock, whatever it was, where it's like way too just gunplay. This is such a good example of what a Ratchet and Clank can be, and I really hope that there's a proper sequel that's even more of a AAA experience or whatever. I don't even know what that would be, but this game was damn good. Damn freaking good. For $40, it's like that just makes it even better.
Yeah.
Uncharted 4. I think it's an easy answer, but I also think it's a game that could have not made this list based on what I was saying about Pokemon and Fire Emblem. I know what an Uncharted is, but Uncharted 4, man, it did such a good job of tightening up the entire experience of playing through the games and caring about the characters and upping the ante, but also not doing things and going bigger just to go bigger. I feel like a lot of movies have that problem where it's just like, all right, this is just fucking ridiculous, and they're just trying to be more ridiculous. Uncharted, I think 4 did a great job of being more grounded than the other games and really making it about the things that mattered in those games, which is not the mechanics of the gameplay. It is the characters, it is the dynamics they have together, and it is the sense of adventure and the level of improvement that the game had in terms of story elements of why you're going from place A to place B. A lot of the other Uncharted games I felt like constantly are just like, and now we're going here. Why? Who the fuck knows? Uncharted 4, it's like, all right, cool. It makes more sense. It's a more grounded adventure, and I think that it added characters that mattered and characters I cared about, which is a huge accomplishment because you cared about all the other characters so much, and the lack of some characters you cared about so much in this one could have been a huge disappointment, but I don't think it was. I think that the new ones are great and everything felt super good, and the end is just like, thank you. You guys nailed it. You did it fucking right. Overwatch. Goddamn. Overwatch is the game I cannot believe I like as much as I do. That shit's fun. That shit's Super Smash Brothers, but it's online shooter. I love an online shooter. What the hell? Overwatch probably the game I've played most in 2016. I just keep going back to it. It's like every time I have 10 minutes at home, like, you know what, I'll play a match, which ends up being 3 matches. You know, that's one of those. It's one of those one more match games. I feel like they're doing a great. I've never really been able to appreciate Blizzard and their games because I don't care about StarCraft. I don't care about World of Warcraft or whatever. I never got sucked into that stuff. But I'm finally able to appreciate the level of polish they put onto their products in terms of caring about the consumer and caring about the experience they have, not just as a game, but as a platform. And seeing them come out constantly with the new expansions and the Halloween event and the Olympics events and the winter season event stuff. It's like adding stuff that is cosmetic changes that are just stupid fun, but cosmetic changes are stupid fun that matter when you care about the characters. And
when you're invested.
Overwatch has such an amazing cast of characters that came out of thin air. Activision nailed it when it came to the promotion of this game, releasing the animated shorts and stuff. And like, this game looks like a Pixar game and it feels like one. And the cinematics make it really feel like there's this world and there's this lore and stuff that you care about, and the music and all the elements come together in a way that makes me say, wow, I give a fuck about all these characters. I care about like how they all play. And I don't want to just play one character. I want to switch between them and learn a whole bunch of different ones, similar to Smash Brothers. And I'm not good at all. That doesn't fucking matter. I still have a lot of fun, even when I play online and I'm getting my ass kicked. The next round, I'll do fine. And I can play a support character, and like the defined roles you get to play, I feel are easy to understand. It's a game that you can jump into and not need to know all the crazy technical shit of a lot of the other shooters these days, or it's not as dumbed down as some of the other ones where it is just go and fucking shoot and be a solo player. It's a game about teamwork, and it's a game that I wish that we could all play as a group because it would be fucking fun to have us 4 and Kevin, I guess, or 5 people like playing together. Us 4 being Nick and Kevin. It's super awesome. And I think Overwatch is a game that anybody that gave a chance fucking really fell in love with it. And I think it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving because, again, it is a platform and they've done nothing but treat it with respect so far. So good job, guys. Inside. That shit's good. That shit's good. We did our review discussion a long time ago, and I had nothing but good things to say about the game. I think that it is a masterpiece from animation level, and just in terms of the design of the game and the thought put into making it a unique experience from every single screen. Every single shot that you see in that game doesn't feel like the other ones, but it feels right. The way the camera moves, it's a 2D game, but at some points it really feels like there's a lot of depth. And there's a specific moment in the game with, and this isn't really spoilers because it's like whatever, it's not story related, but there's like wind turbines that like, or sound turbines. I don't even know what the hell's happening, but shit's coming at you from a 3D world, and it fucking changes shit. There's no other moment in the game like that. But it's fantastic because it feels right. And I think the highest compliment I can give the game is it never feels gimmicky in a way that I think Limbo did at sometimes. I still think Limbo's a better game, but Limbo had some moments where I was just like, all right, you're only doing this because the game looks this way. And it kind of felt cheap. Inside never felt cheap. Inside always felt like if I wasn't proceeding, it's because I was doing something wrong. And it also felt satisfying. It was really good to be able to figure out the puzzle, and nothing ever took too long to figure out. So it wasn't just like insanely challenging, but it was good. It was damn good. Pokemon Go. People can give it shit, but as a fucking experience, which these days, that's what games are. Games are not what we thought they used to be. Games can be so many different things now. People can talk about walking simulators or this and that. And like Pokemon Go brought people together. Pokemon Go is a game that me and Kevin got addicted to. And it was fun talking to him. This sheer idea that me, Kevin, and Paula were hanging out one time. And Paula's like, hey, do you guys just want to go get ice cream and then go hang out and go catch Pokemon? It's like, that's fucking awesome. That's why that makes my list. And Pokemon Sun and Moon don't. Like, that's crazy to me, but it's like Pokemon Go did something that no game has ever done. For that alone, I think it deserves a spot on people's lists. Was there gameplay there that's like thrilling? No. But there's a lot of other games that are just movies that you're watching. And like you talk about the Telltale games all the time. And it's just like, well, if there's not a game there, what's it matter if it's just story and you're choosing choices and shit? With this, it's like there was hooks. It had that gameplay loop, but it was in real life. And I forgot who I was talking to, but they were joking that it's like, what is real life game of the year then? And it's just like, no, because the graphics are good, but there's no story. But Pokemon Go is fantastic. And they're adding stuff and it's, too far gone. Like there's still hella people playing. They're still making a shit ton of money off of it, but the zeitgeist of it all, it has died down. But that game was a cultural phenomenon and I think it deserved it. Next up, Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. Man, I love that game. That game, to me, is the best VR game experience that there is. A lot of other things, it is going back to it, the experience of it all. But I think Until Dawn gave me what I wanted from a gameplay perspective with virtual reality, which is gimmicks. You back in the day, you play arcade games because of the gimmicks. You would pay the premium price to be able to stand on the skateboard and move, or box with the weird ass like green looking punch out guy, the wireframe thing, but you're actually punching with punching gloves and stuff. It's like those experiences are gimmicks, but it's because it's different that allows it to be fun. And light gun games in the 90s were so cool. And my favorite was this game Carnival, where you're going through a carnival and fighting all these weird ass ghosts and skeletons and shit. And I loved Until Dawn. Then they announced this, and I'm like, this is exactly what I want. Not from an Until Dawn sequel, but from an Until Dawn spinoff, for sure. Sure, tack on a franchise that we know, that we're now turning into a horror universe or whatever. Use the elements we know from that, but really get into it. I feel like it could have been 1 or 2 levels, but they gave us like 6 levels that were all different enough, all working within horror tropes. And in the same way that Until Dawn was very much like a 90s horror slasher teen movie, in game form, this reminded me of the 90s arcade light gun action games in 2016. The virtual reality element, man, the scares in that game are awesome. Just playing through it, it feels good. There's some problems where your gun starts going like this sometimes when you're shooting. You're like, why the hell is the calibration off? But that's the VR thing. You know, that's an issue with like the
Gen
PlayStation
1
Move
PlayStation
controllers.
Move,
Yeah, but it's like it's all forgiving. Like all of it, I'm just like, you know what? This game makes me so happy. This is a game that I want to show people. Like Batman Arkham VR, fucking awesome as an experience. And I definitely think that's the game that you show people that have never used PlayStation VR before. But Until Dawn's the game where I'm like, this is a sick ass thing. If you have an hour, play this game. It's cool. Final 2. Final Fantasy 15. Oh man. It was worth the wait. Can't believe it. Cannot believe I can say that it was worth the wait. I was worried about the game so much. You're always saying like, at the very least it'll be good. I wasn't so sure about that. I thought it could have been bad, and it wasn't. It's awesome. I still haven't gotten to the holiday break, so I haven't had time, and now I'm waiting for a PlayStation 4 Pro so I can play it that way. But I am having so much fun with it, and that is the game that I'm like, I want to get back to playing it now. And like just all the side quests and stuff, while usually not for me, this game reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 5, where I just like the game so much that I'm like, cool, I want to do a whole bunch of little shit. And it's like, as much as I want to just keep plowing through the story, I keep getting pulled away for dumbass shit, admittedly. But I'm into it. And the characters, they fucking nailed it. And like, that's to me what Final Fantasy is. And I'm really happy with it so far. And I cannot wait to keep playing it. But it definitely makes my list. And then the last one, Last Guardian. It's inside in 3D, has a ton of issues, but the overall experience is memorable to a point where I'm like, a lot of the other games, like I had a great time with Battlefield 1. The campaign was great, but it was a shooter game, and I know what it is, and it came and gone. Last Guardian really tried to do something different, and it ended up doing a lot of things that were the same. 2 great games though. Shadow, Eco, awesome games. And this game kind of does feel like the next one of that, for better and worse. But I think that overall it's gonna be similar to Firewatch for me, where it has issues, but when I think about it later, I'm gonna remember the good parts of it and not so much remember the bad parts. Like I think next year I'll think about Last Guardian and be like, man, I loved the story elements, I loved the end. And yeah, the controls were a little whatever, and Trico didn't listen correctly. But like that stuff's gonna be the afterthought. I think I'm gonna give a lot less weight to that. But overall, I think it's a fucking solid ass list of games. Like it's so cool that those are just the 10 favorite games I've had, but there's so many other ones that are out there. Shout out to you, 2016. You did good in games, not so much in other things. Colin.
Oh, hold on. My notebook.
The stone tablets that were given to him at the burning bush last night.
I wish I was at the burning bush. I'd have a thing or two to say. So I'm gonna go through the games. So basically what happened is I went through my trophies, and then I wrote down all the games that I thought could be on the list. And I identified 5 games that didn't make the list for a specific reason, and then another 7 games, I think, that didn't make the list for a different reason. I'll just go over those really quickly before we get into the list. Hitman, the core Hitman game, I just started. I'm going to spend more time with it after break. It's important to note that this is an incomplete list because I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks playing games I didn't play, so it could be that this list frankly isn't even valid by the time you hear it, but I think this is probably going to be the essence of it. But Hitman, I just didn't spend enough time with, and I don't know that it would make the list anyway, but I like it. Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think, could easily make the list. I just have not spent a lot of time with it yet, and that's a game I'm definitely going to play over the break. Foul Play, I absolutely loved. It was one of my favorite Vita experiences, but it came out last year. Salt and Sanctuary, I'm waiting for the Vita version. I played it a little bit on PS4, so I think it's a game that speaks to me. I actually really liked what I played, but again, just not yet. And Far Cry Primal, I think, probably could have been on the list too, but I didn't play enough of it. So I wanted to talk about that, but I think those games are good. Games that otherwise didn't make it for different reasons. Brutal, I really liked. Brutal's a dungeon crawling action game in an ASCII world. Really cool and really stylish game, and I think underplayed and underappreciated. I think it was really fun. And I spent a solid week with it, and that was enough. But I played it every night, and it's basically about how far you can get before you die. And it was pretty cool. Overcooked is an honorable mention. I think it's a fun game. I thought it probably would make the list, but when I made my list, there's no way that Overcooked's anywhere near it. But it's a great game. I wouldn't deny it. I think it's a really, really great game. Hitman Go is really fun. I'm almost done with it on Vita. I have a few stages left on was playing it last night. Great game. Again, not good enough to be on the list. Batman from Telltale is an honorable mention. I think even without its technical issues, it wouldn't make the list because I think the list is so strong for my tastes. that I came up with, but certainly worth people giving it a look. Job Simulator. I thought would have been on the list, and I tried to sneak on the list, but I can't. There's no VR games on my list, actually. I think that's the strongest PSVR game so far, and the best-selling PSVR game, I think, since it's come out. Headlander, I thought would definitely be on the list. This is a Double Fine game, and I thought it was really, really clever. It's a Metroidvania game where you're basically a head only, and you're going on different people's bodies and walking around and using that as a way to get through the map, and I think it's really fun. And The Division is my final shout-out. I played The Division for about 40 hours, and I liked it a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. I played it by myself, so I didn't get the normal experience that folks would get with it. So I put those on there, and I'll note that, similar to echo Tim's comments, this was a way stronger year than I thought it was, and a way stronger year than I think people are giving it credit for. I played, according to PSN Profile so far this year, 69 games on PS4 and Vita, and you probably add another half dozen or so on Civilization 6, for instance, and those games that Gears of War 4 games that I didn't play on our native platforms. So 75 games is a lot to choose from, and I was actually shocked by how much I played this year. Last year I played less than I would have liked to because of personal problems and the business kind of taking off and all that kind of stuff. This year I played way more games than I intended to play or that I thought I would play. It's an excessive amount of games, actually. So this is the list now, and it's in alphabetical order. Not in the order that I think
I like us.
not in the order that I think they should necessarily be. Battlefield 1 was the first game on the list. It's a special shooter. I think that I think its strength is in its storytelling and its vignette style. I know that this was a redemption story for DICE in a way, and I know this was a redemption story for fans of the series after how bad Battlefield 4 was for a lot of people, and that isn't really relevant to me. What's relevant to me is they took World War I and they made it super interesting, and it was actually a conflict that a lot of people and a lot of designers and a lot of publishers and developers have shied away from because it's difficult to tell a story, and they managed to do it. Now, it's a little unbelievable. It's not quite right, but it's right enough, and it feels authentic, and I liked that I cared about these characters and I cared about their stories, and it was just enough time, 2, 3, 3.5. I was playing on hard, so it took me a little longer because I'm dying a lot. Maybe 4 hours with each story, something like that. But I thought it was plenty of time, and I really liked them. And I liked that one was all about a tank, and one was all about a plane, and one was all about infantry, and I think it was really neat. The only miss, I think, was that the Harlem Hellfighter that was so prominently displayed in the promotional materials and on the box cover is basically only in the tutorial, and I really would have liked to see his story. In a more in-depth way. I'll also say that I went online for a few days with the game, played it for maybe 10 hours online, and maybe not even, and loved it. And I thought it was great. The scale of the game and not only the metagame of the multiplayer, which is really cool, but the scale of what is going on in this map is just it's fucking insane. And I really like that element of it as well.
And the war pigeons.
And the war pigeons were there as well. Number 2 is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I will say it again. I've said it many times, and I'll stick by it. People hate on Call of Duty because it's cool to do that. This game is fucking awesome. And I understand that when we talk about Call of Duty, we're talking about two different things. And so that's important to note that I don't play it online. And I have no interest in playing it online. And I know some people take issue with Infinite Warfare's trajectory in terms of its looseness online. The parkour has kind of ruined it for some people. I understand all that. I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the campaign. This is an amazing Call of Duty campaign, and I've played almost all of them. So it's what I will say about the campaign is that it has vibes of Mass Effect. Some, I think, a facade of nonlinearity. It's not really nonlinear, but you go to like a world, like a map, like a solar system map, just like you would in Mass Effect, and you pick a planet or a place you want to go. The guys are over on Venus, you can't land on Venus, but they're over at Venus. There's a derelict ship there. They're trying to mine it, go and fuck them up, right? Like, you don't have to do that, but you can, and you do, and I liked the role playing kind of mechanics of upgrading your character and upgrading gear and having kind of some options in that way. I also thought the story was really great, and well, I was a little underwhelmed by maybe the antagonist, who is the dude from Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. I thought that the story was cool. It's basically about a separatist faction of humans that have never really lived on Earth. Like, we're so spaceborne now that we have permanent Martian colonies on Titan and Mercury and all these other places, and they just fucking hate Earth. And they hate the humans, and they hate being told what to do from this place. And it's got like kind of colonial vibes, and I think the story's really clever, and it's not a huge surprise because people from Naughty Dog wrote the story. So I think Call of Duty Infinite Warfare deserves way more credit than it's getting, and I think that Call of Duty yet again is the archetype for how shooters should feel. If you make a shooter, it should feel like Call of Duty. And I think there's no shame in saying that, and clearly the market agrees. Doom is number 3. Doom is the only game on my list that I didn't beat. I got distracted, but I spent an inordinate amount of time with Doom, and I will get back to it over the break. I just got distracted. I was basically very procedurally going through every map, getting every collectible, every item, every upgrade, doing all the challenges and all that kind of stuff, and I just got distracted by something else, like maybe E3 or something. I don't know. I don't really remember even when it came out. But it's so fun. It's so arcadey. It's so fast. It's one of those games where I typically like to play my shooters on a harder difficulty level, and I remember trying to play it on like very hard and then hard, and I'm like, fuck this. Like, it's just so gruelingly difficult that I'm like, I don't have the patience for this. I just want to get through it, so I'm playing it on normal. There was a lot of skepticism with this game, not only because of the fact that Bethesda, which published it, because they own id, not only because they didn't give review copies, but also I think skepticism because of Doom 4, what was once known as Doom 4, it's tortured development, and there was every reason to be skeptical and to think that this game was going to pan out, and it panned out, I think, better than anyone could have possibly imagined. And one of the major things that I think is important to note about Doom in particular is that everyone's like, well, it doesn't have a story, and I'm like, I profoundly disagree with that. I profoundly disagree with that assertion. The stories in the environment and the stories are in the intel and all those things, should you choose to read it. I was actually astonished by how much fucking writing is in the game and how deep they go to explain just everything. So the story's there if you want it, but it's not necessary. The game is just fluid and fun and different than the other shooters this year. And it has that acclaim, I think, for a good reason. It's a really, really great game.
Have you watched Danny O'Dwyer's
Not yet.
thing? It's
mostly because I'm afraid it's going to spoil the game for me. So I didn't want to see it.
It's great, man. It's really cool.
Downwell is number 4. As I explained when we were talking, I think, about our top Vita games, because it's on my top Vita game list that we did for PS I Love You. Downwell is one of those games that just beat my ass and just beats my ass over and over again. I'm just not that good at it. And I take pride in being good at games, as we all do, and I like to master a game and feel like I'm getting better. And Downwell is one of those games where I just don't feel like I'm getting that much better, and yet I just keep playing it over and over again. It's a game I actually boot up pretty often. And I've played pretty extensively throughout the year because I have this itch with Downwell and I want to beat it. And as I was telling Greg, like, the developer's mom was talking about how she beat it on hard mode and stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't even beat the fucking third world normal mode. Like, I don't understand how anyone's beating this game. And I like study these YouTube videos and obsess over them. And like, I'm like, I just can't execute like this. It's so twitchy and so fucking nerve wracking. I'm like, gonna break my Vita in half when I'm playing it. But it speaks to the game's quality and the game's hook that I keep coming back to it. It's just really good. And for people that don't know, it's just a very basic Japanese indie game. You're falling down a well, hence the name. You have gun boots, and the idea is that you're basically trying to build up combos by not landing. And you can land on any platform if you want, but you reset your multiplier. But that's also how you reset your bullets. So you have to balance out this thing where, like, if you bounce on an enemy, it refills your bullets. But if you're just jumping around with your boots, eventually you have to land. And so you either land on an enemy or you land on a platform. And the enemies are different colors, so like you can't even land on certain enemies. And by the end of the game, you can't land on anything. And there's a degree of randomness to it too, where you have 3 items that you can select at the beginning of each stage, and they're just randomized, and you just can create this great arsenal of weapons and items and techniques and all that, or you get really fucked on your playthrough and you start again. But I think Downwell is worth the look, and I do think, and I know this sounds like a Vita fanboy thing, whatever, it's best on Vita. I played it on PS4, it's just not the same. The screen's too big. I Am Setsuna is number 5. I Am Setsuna is one of those creep games where the more I think about it, it creeps into my mind, the more I love it. To the point where I liked it. I always liked it. And as I platinumed it, and as I was playing it more, the more I played it, the more I liked it. And then when I was done with it, I was sad it was over. And I hadn't had that feeling in a long time. That feeling I had a lot as a kid, as a young role-playing game fan, where most of what I played from age, I would say, well, from the time I really got my PS1 until, so Final Fantasy 7-ish, so like 97 until 2001 or 2002, that's pretty much all I played was Japanese role-playing games. And you always got that sinking feeling when you beat a game that you liked because you invested so much time in it. It wasn't like a 5 or a 10 hour investment. I played I Am Setsuna for probably 50 hours, and some of these games I played for 100 hours. I remember being really sad when Wild Arms 2 was over, for instance, because I'd invested so much time in it, there's just nothing left. And that's the way I felt about I Am Setsuna. And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this game is underrated and to a criminal degree. And I think Square Enix deserves a lot of credit. We talk about their Vita support and all these kinds of things. They deserve a lot of credit too for funding this game as well as funding those DS class-based games. What were they?
Bravely
Default. Yeah. Because they're listening to some degree, and they're like, well, you want this. And Tokyo RPG Factory is a Square studio that was made specifically to make these kinds of games. And they took a financial loss on the game, although I think they probably remade it now that they released it in the West. Setsuna, I think, is Japanese for sorrow. And so the entire game is super fucking sad. And you don't often find that in role-playing games. There's sad elements of role-playing games. Wild Arms has sad elements with Rudy, and Final Fantasy VI has sad elements with Edgar and Sabin and their brotherhood and Cyan's dead wife and all that kind of stuff. But this game is just fucking sad. And the music's sad. It's all piano. And it's about how this girl is going to go kill herself for the sake of humanity, and how these people are guiding her on her path to ultimately sacrifice herself.
Sounds like Final Fantasy X's plot.
A lot of people were making those comparisons. And to me, is
there a blitzball in this?
There's no blitzball in it. What I think is so cool is that it's just pure old school role playing, and that combat. And I don't think it's necessary for every game or even many games today, because I think they would turn a lot of people off. But it was a game that was necessary at the time. And I hate to say it, but like the more I play games in the role playing genre that aren't like I Am Setsuna, the more I miss that game. I just think it's a really, really great game, and the platinum was totally fun to get, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Inside is the next game, number 6. Inside's my favorite game of the year. I think Inside delivers without being pretentious, and I think because a game like that oozes pretension. I think that Limbo oozes pretension. I think games, Jonathan Blow games ooze pretension. There's nothing really wrong with that, and Playdead's games have an air of pretension. But what I was surprised about with Inside was it actually was not pretentious at all. It was just very deliberate. The way the game was made was really quite brilliant. And when you consider how long Playdead took to make the game and how short it is, it's 90 minutes long, 2 hours long at the most. I was really enamored with how deliberate everything was in the game, how every frame and every second of it meant something, and there was no waste, and there was nothing added that didn't need to be there. And I like how ambiguous the story is. And what I love about it the most is that some people think it falls apart at the end a little bit. And I understand why people think that. But what I thought was most fun was that when it was over, I was like, I have no idea what the fuck that was about. And it doesn't matter. And I've read fan theories and have my own theories about what that place was and what was going on with the boy there and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. And they're never going to say. And you'll never know. And I think it's cool. It's satisfying. It's similar to Journey, where I'm like, I think Journey's about death. And I think that's pretty obvious. But it's also about other things, and you don't really know. And it's not really important because it's some sort of like Inside was like a spiritual journey for me, and I really, really loved it. That's a must-play game, and I think I'm surprised that a lot of people don't talk about it. You don't hear much about it, like you hear about Limbo. I bet you this game sold significantly less than Limbo, and I think that's a shame.
I think it's a time and place thing, though. Really, with
well, Limbo was
Limbo being like the kind of headline, like
look at this
DLC
indie game
title. You know,
yeah.
It's like you can download this, and then it like.
And then not only that, it did brew and cook for a long time before it went everywhere.
Yep.
Ratchet and Clank is number 7. Ratchet was, I think, the biggest surprise of the year, and I thought it was gonna be good. I mean, Insomniac makes good Ratchet games. I mean, they've only had a couple of misses when they got away from the formula, specifically with they got back to it with Into the Nexus, but like Full Frontal Assault and all these, All for One. It's like Jesus Christ. And I respect that they were trying different things. It just didn't work out. Ratchet is a remake of the original, like you said, but it has all these new elements. And I think the original Ratchet & Clank is a fantastic game. And I think what I liked the most about it was that they fixed the tone of the game. As I've said many times before, Ratchet and Clank's adversarial relationship in the first game was really unfortunate. And I don't think they understood quite what made that pair work and why people cared about them. Like, Ratchet hates Clank, and Clank hates Ratchet in the first game. Like, they're not friendly to each other, and it's awkward. It reminds me, in a weird way, a little bit of Breaking Bad, where I'm like, the reason I don't like this show is because like even the protagonists don't like each other. Like, it's just like, there's no one to root for. There's no relationship there worth a damn. Like, why do I care about any of the things that are happening? And they fixed it. And suddenly they're friends, and that fixes the game. And so it's beautiful and it plays well, and it's from another era, but I think it plays well. I think you're going to get another one. And I think Sony was probably astonished by how well it sold. And we have to remember that it was made to coincide with the movie, and the movie ended up being the inconsequential part of the equation, not the game. And I think that that's a great sign that, first of all, not everything needs to be a movie. And second of all, $40 price point for a AAA Ratchet and Clank game from Insomniac. It's one of the best games of the year. And I mean, I don't think it's even close. Like, I think that Ratchet is clearly special, and you should play it. Number 8 is Severed. Best Vita game of the year, I think, by a mile. Drinkbox Studios. What can you say about those guys? They've supported Vita since the very beginning. This was a Vita exclusive. It's on other things now, but they made this game for Vita, and they knew they were releasing it into a void. Vita is dying, but there's a hardcore audience there that bought the game and has supported it. And what I like about it the most is that it's a first-person dungeon crawler akin to a lot of the games that are already on the platform. It's a breeding ground for these kinds of games. Actually, there's plenty of first-person dungeon crawlers on there if you want them, especially from NIS. And this game took a different tack. It's not very hardcore. It's not very long. It's about using touch controls to sever enemies' body parts and use them to create new goods and new items, new weapons and upgrades. And it can be beaten in like 6 or 7 hours. And I think it was exactly the experience that I wanted. I was so excited that it was good. I know that they were a little worried about it, that they didn't really stumble on the special sauce for a little while, and they delayed it and tried to figure out what the game was and stuff like that. And they did themselves proud. And it's on Wii U and other platforms now, iOS. But I think that it's really Vita's best game of the year by a mile, and deserves a lot of credit. And I think it's a lot of fun. And it's a great game to just spend a day or a night with, or a couple of nights with, and you'll be done with it. And you can platinum it. Number 9 is Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is different than Setsuna, where the more I think about it, the more I actually don't like it. But that's relative, because I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a great game. But like, I thought it was like this. When I played it and when I finished it, I was like, this is a phenomenal. I really took my time with it and tried to savor it. And I was like, this is a phenomenal, just epic game. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But there's a lot of problems with it too. And Inside quickly went ahead of it and on my list. And I think that we were talking about tone earlier with some of these games. I think Uncharted 4 missed some of the tone of what made the old Uncharted 3 games good. And I also think that its focus on ancillary characters was a mistake, because this is the last time we're going to see them. And so they missed a lot of chances to give us a little bit more of what we wanted. And they're going to try to rectify that with the DLC with Chloe a little bit. But Nadine's in it. It's like, I don't give a fuck about Nadine, and like, I don't care about Drake's brother. We never even heard of this person. Like, where does he come from and why is he so important to the story now? Like, there's certain things where I'm like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. And as a fan, I've been a fan of Uncharted since the beginning, just like all of us at the table. I didn't at the end, after thinking about it and marinating on it for a little while, I wasn't as satisfied as I wanted to be with the way it ended. However, the epilogue is super interesting in the game, and I think clearly is going to continue in a different way in the future. I think they'll put it on ice for now, and I think it'll be back in ways that I think people that beat the game will understand. But Uncharted 4 is a technical masterpiece. I like that it didn't have much gunplay in it. It's about adventuring. It's about being Drake. Drake's like a fucking mass murderer in these games. It's nice to scale that back and ground it a little bit more. But I also like that The Last of Us didn't seep into the game at all. In terms of like crafting or anything like that. I remember saying before the game came out, if there's any upgrade systems or crafting, I'm gonna be so fucking mad. And they did. They stayed away and they made it pure pulp, which is exactly what it's all about. And so Uncharted 4 is certainly one of the great games of the year. And the final game is Virginia. On my list. And I think Virginia is a really special walking simulator, as we say. But I don't mean that pejoratively. It's about this FBI agent, this black female FBI agent. And I don't want to say too much more than that because it'll spoil it, because it's a really short game. I platinumed it. I played it twice. I really enjoyed it. And I think what's cool about it is the art style is a little obtuse and a little weird. But also, there's not a word spoken in the game. There's no words on the screen. There's no words said. It's all through observation of scenes and facial expressions and all those kinds of things that you get what the game means. And even then, there's a lot of ambiguity and there are a lot of theories about what the game really means and what's going on in the game. And I think that Virginia, out of all those games on the list, is the one that the least amount of people played. And I really think people owe it to themselves to play it. I think it's a stupendous game and super emotional, super strange, plays with your emotions and tightens your stomach a little bit with some of the things that are going on and the situations that she finds herself in. And there's a place for these, in an era when we emphasize gameplay, which is king in most games, and we emphasize length of game, bless you, which I think is really important. In some cases, I love that there's experiences out there still like 3/4 Home or Gone Home or one of these games where it's like, this is 90 minutes and this is what the game is and there's really nothing else to do. And I think that's totally appropriate for some games. And Virginia, I think, was the cream of the crop in that respect this year. So that's my list of 10 games.
Greg,
Hi.
give me your top 10 games of 2016.
I actually, and this is, of course, there's no objectivity in this kind of thing. It's only subjective. I stand by that. I think for Greg Miller, it was an all right year in games. My top 10 list wasn't hard to assemble. I have a bunch of honorable mentions, that things I put on the list that I liked a lot, but I don't think were really in contention. And I think even when I would say even like my 9 and 10 are games that are in there that deserve to be in there, but even then it's like not reaching, but like this is why, but this is also my, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Honorable mentions, Virginia is the first one on my list. I enjoyed Virginia. It's super different. It is interesting. I do like the idea of not a fucking word in that game. You have to put it all together yourself. It's one that I think what you guys have been talking about, hooks in you the more you think of it. I remember beating it, enjoying it, and being like, all right, moving on or whatever. And it's now one of those ones where I'm like, I want to go back. I mean, not only for the platinum because it's easy, just to go back and see the different permutations of it. The collectibles I did miss, the little nods I did miss. I keep thinking about that game. I can't stop thinking about that game. But in the end, I like these other games more. I put Volume on there. Technically a 2015 game. Came to Vita this year, though. That's where I played it. I was happy to finally get it on there. Of course, full disclosure, Mike Bithell is somebody who sponsored the Gamescast at 1.3 Patreon. That doesn't mean anything to us, but just so you know, Volume is a lot of fun. It's one of those that I'm super, super actually anxious for my flight on Saturday to get back and play more of it. It is a game that I'd like to eventually chip away at in Platinum on Vita. I put Rise of the Tomb Raider on there, right? It was on my list for Xbox One last year for top 10. Now that it's on PlayStation 4, now that it is the definitive edition, awesome, 20-year celebration is what they call it. But what I go back to on that game all the time, right, is how much love and care Crystal Dynamics put into it. Definitive editions can be Game of the Year editions. You can put these things out with just the DLC and call it a day. The fact that they went in there and put in Croft Manor, let you play it in third person or in PlayStation VR is awesome. The fact that they made Croft Manor and they were like, all right, cool, let's make the Lara's Nightmare, give you a little survival thing to run through and do all this stuff. Those are nice touches, let alone the fact that all the DLCs in there, you got the co-op online endurance mode now. They did stuff to that game, and the game was already fantastic, and that was the problem last year. I remember being like, everyone should play this, and I understand you want to wait till PS4, and like even me, where I was like, I almost stopped playing the Xbox One version, because I was like, I'd love to platinum this, and I know that'll probably never happen if I play it on Xbox One. And to this day, I started it, and I enjoy it, and I really do like it, and I want to get back, but so many other things are tugging on me, moving me in different directions. But crafting, exploration, crofting, cute. Let's get one, you son of a bitch. Going through and making your character better and making these different weapons. I'm like, Rise of Tomb Raider is fantastic. I put on here Valkyria Chronicles, the collection or remaster came out this year. Valkyria Chronicles is awesome. Everybody should play it. Pokemon Go I put on here. It is totally an experience. It's something that I'll never... In all of my days, I won't forget when that game came out and everybody getting crazy about it and listening to Kevin get crazy about it with you, and then walking to the store and hearing people and watching people in my neighborhood, which is not the techie video game neighborhood, playing it and doing it, and then coming back from a bar one night and kids across the street were yelling at each other because they were outside taking over a gym in my neighborhood. And it was like, wow, that's fucking crazy. Let alone Grimecraft, throwing DJ parties and everybody's dropping lures and then promoting it that way. Come here. The bar in my neighborhood being like, no Pokemon here, when they are a Pokestop, and they're like doing all this dumb shit. Yeah. And the stories you'd hear of people at 4 a.m. walking through the park and being scared of somebody, and then them telling them where a Charizard was, or them talking about it and having these conversations, and cops coming together in a time when we needed like good cop role models and downloading it when they're talking to kids. And it's like, that was what you said. It was a fucking movement. It was a thing. It was a cultural phenomenon. And so, was it a great game? Whatever. I don't know. I'm not. I'm glad I didn't have to review it. But in terms of what it did and how, even me, I played for a while and I'm like, this is fun. This is cool. And it's a little time waster and it's enjoyable. But it was more than that, which is so hard to believe, as everyone was caught and swept up in it.
Even last week, me and Sean Finning are working on a project, and we were like location scouting, and we went on top of this like kind of touristy mountain in San Francisco. And we went up, and there was this like family, and this like old dad was just like, oh, I heard there's a lot of Diglets up here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was so obviously like this group of people. I was like, you're so late to this, but it's so funny that there's some Diglets.
Well, that was I remember going to a brunch with a couple developer friends, and we had our dogs, and we were sitting outside, and like sure as shit, there was just like this constant line of like ants, but it was people going off over to this like part of the park and then coming back, and they were all just going there to collect whatever random thing.
It's a fucking Dragonair.
Exactly. Yeah. People were all over it. All right, so here's my top 10. Ranked 10 to my favorite game of the year. Number 10, The Division. Division is an interesting one because I think the narrative flipped on it, as they do often, where if you would have asked me throughout this year about The Division, I probably would have been like, yeah, I was having a great time until I hit the level cap and then we had to do it. Because there was a day where, why I love it and why, like, reflecting on it and why I want to get back into it now that the patch has supposedly made things better is, like, Fran and I were on the Division every night for quite a while, with Tyroot joining in and having random people, come in and go. And it was one of those things of, for me, as a non-multiplayer gamer, somebody who loves single player, who loves story-driven games, like, that's still a rarity for me to find a multiplayer game I love and have, like, standing dates. And I'm, I have the headset on and I'm doing it for hours just talking to Fran about bullshit, right? Or he's streaming it and we're clowning around with the chat. And the problem was that I worked so hard to beat the story part of it and, hit level 30 or whatever it was and start, really getting into the dark zone and getting crazy. And then it was that we did it. And then that first night it was like, all right, let's do something crazy, in the end game stuff. And it was like, all right, cool. We ran this mission and it was really tough and we got it and they're great. And they're like, all right, let's do it again. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, I did it. And then I signed off. And the next day I signed on. It was a Saturday and I signed on and Ty was on. I joined up with Tom. I'm like, hey man, what's up? He's like, nothing. I've been running this one mission for 6 hours to grind out all this stuff. And I did it for like an hour. Fran joined, we played a little bit, and then I was just like, I'm gonna go, guys. Like, this isn't what I want. Like, because I've done it. I've done the DC Universe Online where, man, that next armor tier is this many marks away, and I do the math, and I'm like, that is 15 hours of playing all of these same things and using replay tokens and doing it. And I'm like, that is not what I'm about, and that is not what I want to do. And so that became the narrative, right? In a similar way to Inside, which is going to show up on my list. Like in our review, I came in and I was really down on it when we started, but then it was just the ending that I didn't like. It was like the gameplay is superb and everything's amazing. And I was like, oh, fuck, right. No, I really like this game actually, but I'm just caught up on that last taste. And so taking that away and thinking back to how much I played that game nonstop and would be going back to HQ to get my drops, to get into the the little coolers you have that give you the extra items, to go buy new clothes, then to sit there and mix and match the outfits and stuff. Like, it was a game that fashion over function was awesome. Yeah. Now, let alone the fact that it was mashing up something I liked so much, whereas like Destiny's great for first-person shooter people, but I'm third-person action adventure, right? And this was a third-person game of running on and seeing my gun and having my backpack on, and having my different outfits and hats on. And that gameplay in general was so good, I thought, of, cover base, shoot up against the wall, come out, shoot everything. It's why I'm excited about Ghost Recon Wildlands, right? It's a similar thing of like a 4-man team going in and doing these things, but it was that of, okay, I can play for a little bit on my own, go and do this. I can go, Fran's not on yet. I'm just going to spend hours going around collecting the audio diaries and all the other different cell phones and shit like that. And going through and systematically cleaning out those portions of the city and knowing like, this is what I want. And then like, that game was awesome. And it is that thing, Fran and I were just talking about it at a holiday party recently. Like, we got to get the band back together and we got to go back in there. And it was PSX. Like, yeah, Scott Lowe's in. We're talking to him. He's like, yeah. And it's like, I want to do that. I'm anxious to do that again. And I think maybe in the new year when we come back and it's like, I've played everything I need to catch up on, that'll be the time to jump in before it gets crazy again. Mm-hmm. But The Division was something super special to me. And I do love it, even though the ending got weird there. And then there was problems until this patch. So it's on there. Number 9. I would have never in a million years put this on there. There's going to be plenty of disclaimers for you. Sparkade.
Oh.
Sparkade, a mobile game, number 1. Of course, Sparkade, Colin and I hosted an event for them, but you've seen Greg Canessa on this show, and that was before the deal, and you saw me legitimately talking about how much I loved this game. I'm level 22 in Sparkade. Like, the hours I've put into Sparkade of only playing Tetris, and that's why this is a cheat in terms of a spot. I'm only playing Tetris. Everyone loves Tetris. Tetris is awesome, but it's the fact that Sparkade did something interesting and different in it where, Greg Canessa, and I think it played to the audience because everybody loved that Gamescast. But when he's on here and he talks all the time that I'm a hardcore gamer, and he's like, yeah, mobile sucks. It is a race to the bottom, and there's all this different shit. We wanted to make an app or a mobile game that was for hardcore gamers, and they did it. And that sounds so markety jargony to say, but it is that thing of like, okay, cool. I jumped in and I put $10 into it because I wanted to see how it was always going to work, right? But I think right now I'm at something like $23. I think the highest I've ever had in my bank is $36, and I've never put another dollar back into it. Now, all that aside, I think for me, it is super interesting to be like, I love Tetris. I want to play people for money in Tetris. I want to bet people in Tetris. I love for us having a community. It's awesome to have friends of the community friend request me there, actually go out and challenge me, whether it's for, the free money tokens that they give you or real money. But then on top of that, the upgrade system, I'm unlocking these new badges and I'm getting these new items and I'm going through and this gives me this bonus. Like there's multipliers to how many blue coins you're going to get every day, which is what you can spend if you don't want to spend real money. You don't have to put $1 into the thing. It's really well done. And I felt like a crazy person for a while until I look on the other side of Twitter and I see Ryan McCaffrey still obsessed with Wheel of Fortune, still going through. Like there's something to this and it is really, really well done. And I don't, it's something I never say as somebody who never plays mobile games, let alone gets caught up and would put one on his top 10 list. Like Sparkade caught me off guard and it delivers on a promise that I think is really cool and really awesome, especially for somebody who has a community and does want to engage with them. But like, again, I struggle with multiplayer games, but I can give you a 3-minute match of Tetris and do whatever the fuck.
I'll play some Tetris.
Yeah, I'll steal your money, Joey Noel. Number 8 is Inside. Again, like I touched on there, everything you guys have said is true about it. For me, the ending still is just like, oh, that was just like a letdown to it of like, I was with you. Where's this going? What is it doing? Oh, okay. Like, but all of that fucking aside, the game's fucking beautiful, right? We always talk about, how great in terms of game design and teaching you mechanics Mario is. If you get and you try to run backwards, nope, you can't run backwards. There's no giant thing screaming this at you. You go forward, you touch the first mushroom guy who has a name that I can never remember. Goomba, whatever. Let me tell you about Sonic.
You can't remember no Goomba?
I'm a fucking Sega kid. I didn't play my first Mario forever. What are you talking about?
I don't know, man.
It kills you. All right, cool. You got to jump on it. That's great. Inside did that all the time, where they introduced new mechanics. The first dog that chases you, and you're like, oh, fuck, and you get away from it right at last. But it's like timed out perfectly, so you get away. And it's like, okay, now I understand that the dogs are bad, and this is what's going to happen. But the way they play with light, the way it's visual, the puzzles, this is the whole thing of like, I hate puzzly games like this. Limbo is a game that I did at times feel like I was ramming my head against a wall. This one, it didn't happen. I think I was stopped for like 5 or 10 minutes on the one where it was like, how the fuck do I go underwater and get the door up but not get killed by that? You know what I mean? Like, and then you figure out to go back. It's like, oh, I felt like I was being rewarded and I was learning as I went and I was having fun. And so like Inside was great from gameplay and from setting and from presentation. And for me, it was just like, oh, the story didn't pay off for me in the end. Number 7 is Ratchet and Clank. Again, Ratchet and Clank, phenomenal. It was one of those you guys were both telling me I needed to play it, and I was like, I want to be in the mood. I want to be in the mood. I want to be in the mood. And there was a Sunday I woke up and put it in, and I was in the mood, and it delivered on everything I wanted. It was awesome. It was fun. It was funny. It was beautiful. The one thing I liked the most about it was, we talk about all the time with Ubisoft games where I'm a checkbox guy and I like to have all the missions. I loved the fact that they had different side ops to go do on the planet, but they were all totally achievable and pretty much achievable right then. I didn't feel like, all right, cool, I'll come back to this in 30 hours when I've more, okay, I'm going to sit here and clear this planet. And I do everything on the planet. I'm like, all right, great, back in the spaceship. Let's take off and go and see what the next story mission is, let alone what all the other stuff to do. And that's why I love it. And it's another one that that's at the top of the list right now for me to get in and just finish off, because I didn't finish it off. It's a game I'd like to platinum, and I actually think I'll get back to do it. Number 6, I put Batman, the Telltale series. We just reviewed it 2 episodes ago on the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Again, yeah, there's technical problems. They really reared their ugly head for me in episode 5. Hopefully they've been patched by the time everybody hears this. But being a Batman fan, being a comic book fan, the liberties they take with the story, the way they make it their own, and the way they let you be the Batman or Bruce Wayne you want to be is really awesome. Because what's always worked with Walking Dead in particular, I wasn't a Wolf Among Us fan. I don't think it was really like this in Tales from the Borderlands. I didn't play Game of Thrones because I don't care about Game of Thrones. Walking Dead was, hey, what are you shaking your head at?
Game of Thrones.
Did you play it?
Yeah, I played episode 1.
Yeah, okay.
It was fine.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't like Game of Thrones, though.
Yeah, I'm not like super
Whatever.
into it. I appreciate it. Walking Dead, you'd have, hell, me and Mitch had a show on IGN about it where like, what did you do? Oh my goodness, that's very interesting, blah, 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 blah. But like, I don't think there was, it was like, we would talk about being Lee or being Clem and being like, oh, I'm playing Clem as such a bitch this time and she's doing this and that and she's not taking shit from anybody. That was fine, but like, all the answers sounded like they could be Clem. Whereas for me, I play Batman, the Telltale series, and I'm very clearly playing my Batman. And Batman to me is the stand-up guy who's going to be mean to crooks, but not really hurt, not really kill them, not break their arms and shit, and still like go above and beyond. Like, oh, I don't want to spoil it. We should have talked about this. I would have loved to have known how you handled one of the decisions. Shit, I should ask you. He'll give himself up, right? But Batman's Batman and the mask is Bruce Wayne. Batman is always Batman. Bruce Wayne's this thing he puts on and does all these different things. And then talking to Troy Baker or whatever when we went and did the show, and some of the developers and other people who just played it, where they're like, "Oh my God, no way! You kidding me? I am Bruce Wayne and I'm thinking this way through, and my Batman's really vengeful and he's going to be violent. He's going to do this." Whereas I'm like, I'm turning in things right away to the people who could be I shouldn't do that to probably and play that different way. There's so many different ways, but it honestly comes off as like a different core character, whereas like Clem always felt like Clem, and your decisions were different, but not like this, where I feel like I'm really taking the world in a different direction. And like, Colin and I talked about it in the review of like the way we played a certain character meant that we never saw him as this other thing, and that was interesting. That's awesome. I can't wait to see if they do more of that in season 2. Number 5. This is one that's I think a crazy choice based on how everybody always talks. Song of the Deep. Song of the Deep is the Game Trust game, the GameStop deal that Insomniac did. Metroidvania, incredibly cute little one. You're Marin. You're going to get in your little ship and go underwater and try to save your father who's been taken. For me, and this is a weird one, stick with me, it's in the same bucket, if not like a spiritual successor, if it makes it easier, sequel to The Unfinished Swan. When I reviewed The Unfinished Swan, I remember talking about it in flowery language of it being like it was like a cup of cocoa and a blanket on a really cold day when you're homesick or something like that. This was like, that's how this game felt from the get-go. And there's another one I had to be in the mood for it, and I clicked it on, and the soundtrack is beautiful. The narrator's voice and narration is beautiful. And the cutscenes being a storybook are beautiful. The art of the game itself is beautiful, and it totally was that thing of like wrapping me up in a giant blanket. And I feel like it was criminally underplayed. I don't know. I don't know its Metacritic off top. I think it got like 7s and mid 7s somewhere in there. I don't know if I would have necessarily gone much higher than that. I'm not saying this game would have been a 9 if I was reviewing it, but in terms of emotional impact, in terms of I love the idea of Metroidvanias, but I feel like a lot of them annoy me at some point when I can't get someone. I'm just whatever, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen here. This one was okay, cool. Oh shit, I've got this light, which means I can scare. Okay. Fuck the real story. I'm just going to go tool around and find all those different things. And it was one of those where the map was super, it pulled you in. You saw all the things you needed. You knew where you could go. Not enough fast travel points for my taste. And I think the game might have stayed around a little bit too long in terms of like hour length, but it was great. Should have had a platinum. I don't know who the fuck's giving you such bad information, Insomniac, that you couldn't put a platinum in this. But Song of the Deep was something special. And maybe it was just special to me and some other certain people, but like it resonated to the point of like, I went out of my way to send thank you notes to the people who worked on this game, Insomniac, and all these different people, because I didn't feel people were talking about it. And so like they sent like the Funko Pop Marin that's on my desk and all this stuff, and like stickers that I put on my computer, because like for real, this is a standout character to me and a standout like story. And the collector's edition came with a hardcover written book, right? And I'm holding on to that to one day read it to my child. Like I think like it's that cool. It's like
want
that
children
cool.
now?
We talked about this before. It's a thing of what's going on here. Number 4, Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 1. I was like, okay, popped it in. No, this doesn't work for me. Your Chicago doesn't look and feel right. Why is this guy such a fucking emo villain or an emo hero, I guess? He's so grumpy to go be out doing cool superhero stuff. Aiden, get out of here. And then Watch Dogs 2 was constantly that game where we'd be like, man, yeah, the fall's got so many great games, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. What else? Oh, yeah. And somebody would eventually be like, oh, Watch Dogs 2. And it was that thing for a while where we were like, I don't know what's happening with that game. We haven't seen it. I don't know what's going on with it. And then we went and played it at Ubisoft for that thing. And it was like, oh, gameplay is cool here, but like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about everything else around it. But that was the first time where I was interested and I thought it looked cool, because the E3 demo, where Marcus, they do the whole thing where you meet Wrench for the first time, and then we do as fans watching an E3 demo, and then Marcus goes in and he takes over the politician's campaign and stuff. He's in there and he's blowing people away and he's using robots, and you're like, what the fuck is okay? That's again, tonally, this isn't matching up with what's going on. When I got my hands on the game and discovered that like, oh, I can play this game and in pretty much in terms of the single player story, never fire a weapon if I don't want to. That's fucking crazy. And that wasn't drawn up. And so for me, it was a game where here's the skeleton of the story. You're DedSec. You're this hacker. You're in San Francisco. It's bright and it's colorful and it's fun. And we're going to give you fun missions and fun characters to be around. This isn't going to be the doom and gloom Aiden Pierce story again. I was like, that's really cool. And when it was holy shit, these people actually are people we know. You know what I mean? Of like when they're like, come watch this trailer, and they're like, oh yeah, no, we got to do it this way, and we got to put it up here and get surround sound. And I was like, fuck, that's Tim. Like these people, and I was like, that's cool. They're contemporaries and peers. And so then when they start like, all right, go infiltrate this place, it was never, all right, I'm gonna go in and infiltrate with my fucking AK and blow everybody away and make a giant scene. It was, I walked up to all these places, sat down Indian style, dropped my RC car and drove it in there and hacked the shit out of it. And then like slowly upgraded all those different abilities to the point of like, I was talking to a friend online who was playing and he was like, oh yeah, we were in a party chat on PS4 and he's like, you know, me and the other guy are playing, and we've made up our own narrative that the bullets we shoot are rubber bullets, and that's why like he's doing this, and it doesn't break down the narrative because it does not make any sense. Of like we're dead sec and we're looking out for the little guy, and we're gonna fucking murder everybody. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa, you guys are firing guns? Like I don't do that. I use the stun gun, but I never ever go out and actually like get into real combat. And that was another one of those where it's like, oh shit, like I'm having fun doing the hacking, which was my biggest concern going into that game because I didn't enjoy it in Watch Dogs 1. Getting in there, enjoying it, taking over the city, feeling powerful, using the upgrade trees, it was great. Co-op was whatever. The online trophies suck. Like, it's another game of like, just don't do that. Like, I platinumed Watch Dogs 2 and enjoyed every fucking minute of it, except now go kill 5 guys in bounty mode. It's like, oh my God, like just don't fucking force me to do this shit because this game's great without it and I don't need that. But fun things, again, it was another one where I'd go in and change my outfit and look goofy and be crazy and have fun with that. Fun stuff. Number 3, Severed. PlayStation Vita's best game of the year for sure. Amazing. I won't beat a dead horse. You've talked about it at length. We did our Vita game top 10. We talk about it in there. The one thing that I want to call out again is similar to what I was talking about with Song of the Deep, where I felt rewarded when I was playing that because I'd see things on the map or I'd see things on the wall and be like, ooh, I don't have a mouth power up, but when I do, I'm going to come back and get that. And whenever I got the next power up, it was, all right, cool. The mission's over there. I'm going over here and I'm clearing out every avenue, killing every enemy, tapping for every gem, getting everything I can do here. Story wise, that wasn't why I was playing it, but it was there in terms of, I want to know what happened to the family and where we go from here. But beautiful game. Again, similar to the Sparkgate thing, like, I'm not a mobile gamer. I'm not a touch gamer, but the touch in that for some reason did work. I always said that from previews, even at PAXs before. Like, all right, this makes sense to me, and I understand why I'm doing it and why I like doing it. Enjoyed the game. Great stuff. Everybody should play it. Good platinum. Number 2 for me, Overcooked. Overcooked is one of those games that I remember hearing about, and I remember when we read it on the drop, or there was going to be, the list by the editors, and when it was coming, and I was like, okay, cool. And then getting it, and then I think Poe came that weekend, and him and I sitting there and playing it, and like going from, oh, this is some weird cooking game to, all right, fuck, I need tomatoes, you work the tomatoes, I'll work the mushrooms, fuck, you know what I mean? And going, and like then months later, taking my PlayStation 4 save to his house and in Illinois and beating it and staying up to like whatever it was in the morning, like, 12:30, not late, but I was tired. And beating the final boss and doing that. And then me and Colin playing through all the DLC and getting the last of the trophies. Another game that should have had a platinum. Your DLC should have fucking trophies too. I digress. It was great, and it was local co-op, and it was awesome. And it's something really special. The music's great, the art's great, unlocking characters is great. Overcooked's fantastic. Everybody should play it. And then number 1, Uncharted 4. A Thief's End. I think about it often. It sticks with me. I don't share the complaints necessarily that Colin did. I like Nadine. I'm super excited to get more from her in the single player. But mainly it gave me what I wanted of that game and what I love of it in Nate and Elena and their evolving relationship. And I felt like this is the storyline where they laid everything out and we got answers and we got what we wanted. And I'll never forget, when Nate and Elena and I'm not going to spoil, but Nate and Elena are going up and they're talking and they're like, you know what, this can wait for another time. And I was like, motherfucker. And then, because that's what they do in every game, right? They never ever address their problems. They just are happy at the end and then it's credits. And then like 2 minutes later, they're like, you know what? No, it can't wait. And they started talking. I'm like, fuck yes, go fucking deliver on what you guys are and what this game is, let alone that it's beautiful, that the gameplay is awesome, that I enjoyed all of it. I enjoyed all the aspects of it. I thought the acting was on another level. The directing was on another level. Like the whole scene of Nate and Elena walking around the pirates table and Nate like picking up the cup and reenact. And I was like, fuck, this is awesome. And the villains were cool and the world was cool. And it was so fleshed out that it was the perfect end cap. The Thief's End, they had said forever it was going to be our final Nate Drake story. And it was great. And the epilogue is amazing and is awesome and gives you all the context you need to walk away from that world, I feel. And I felt satisfied. I was happy.
And Easter egg of the year.
Yeah. Caught everybody off guard.
So topic 4, is the kind of funny game of the year. Last year, all we did was just talk and discuss what we think the game of the year is as a whole.
Sure.
That's what we're going to do again
Did we
this
pick
year.
one? I can't remember if we picked one.
We didn't really pick
Did we
one.
all
I think
pick each other's
Metal
ones?
Gear Solid 5 was the one with the most kind of discussion around it. Well, we both picked
Max.
it. Yeah. So there was
Mad
that.
Max was game of the year.
Before we even get into our discussion, I want to give a shout out to Stardew Valley, Dark Souls 3, The Witness, and Hyper Light Drifter as games that
Weren't for us, but
weren't for
other
us
people
aren't a
dug.
thing, but everybody else is loving them. And all the comments, if we didn't mention them, would be like, what about all these?
I'm sorry, if we're doing that, then Rugby Simulator, 20 whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Cricket.
Farmland.
I don't think
Ron
we're talking
Hillman's
about that.
Cricket.
Knob
I don't know if
switch.
that's the guy's name. But it's something.
Ron Hellman's Cricket. I think Kevin, can you
Rude.
please stop honking?
Rude.
I don't think, if we were still at IGN and we were talking about this, that, and the other, how do they all weigh? I think Overwatch would do really well. And so I think it's worth talking more about Overwatch as a group. It's a game that I played and I'm like, I get it. I see why people like this, but you're talking about a phenomenon, right? And like the way Pokemon Go was, Overwatch has been the same thing where everyone's playing it, everyone's obsessed with it, everybody's digging it. And so it's not my thing, but I know how much you like it, and I also know how much hardcore players really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Overwatch is the game of the year in terms of all the things that you're saying, where it's just like, this is the game. This is the game that the majority of people play, love, it keeps on going, and it's beloved and for many good reasons, right? I think that for us, it's obviously not the three of our game, but I think Uncharted's kind of the easy answer there.
So we've agreed.
That it's Uncharted.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. See you
Well, no,
later.
I don't agree with the methodology that says that we have to take into account anyone's opinions but our own. And so you just
No,
and
there's
so
no
you just-
methodology. I'm just saying that I think like if we were talking as far as like something that isn't for us, but it is. I'm not saying that needs to be our game of the year. I'm just saying we're discussing other people's
Well,
picks.
I just think the easiest way to do it is synthesize our list, and the two games that are ubiquitously on our list are Uncharted and Inside. And I think Uncharted probably goes pretty high. I think that if I put my list in order, it would be top 3. I'm probably definitely top 5. You gotta have it in number 1,
Yeah.
and you have it in number.
I didn't
You
have
didn't number
numbers,
it,
No,
but maybe in the
You did
top
release
5.
date.
it's definitely top 5. Yeah.
I mean, I think Inside is the superior game, but they're very different, and I wouldn't begrudge or I would understand how you would arrive at Uncharted very easily, as the answer. So I think our game of the year is Uncharted 4. In terms of our own taste. That's all that matters. I don't care if people like Overwatch, that's great. But
here's the thing:
two of
is
us
it,
don't
or
even
do you
have it on the
think
list.
do you think it's inside? Well, again, no. I wasn't.
Greg, I don't agree with that methodology.
What you're doing is you're jumping to the end. You want a topic that's 4 seconds long.
Greg, I don't agree with the methodology. I'm sorry.
All right. Anyways, back to my point.
Yeah, I don't think it's Inside because I don't.
Why? Because don't you both like Inside more than Uncharted? Correct.
I do.
That's hard. No, I don't.
Okay, good.
No,
Uncharted 1.
I like Uncharted better I think for sure
I think I'm fine with that answer.
as an experience. But what the fuck is going on with this goddamn car?
They're parked literally right outside, and the alarm's just going off. Oh, there's a guy going in.
Turn off your alarm!
Thanks, Greg.
Unfazed.
Yeah.
Just didn't even flinch, didn't look up. Nothing.
It's because you can't hear it because it's like a clarion call when he's right next to the fucking car. He can't understand anything else that's being said to him.
He got out of his car and put down an orange cone.
Is that really the guy right out there? Is the car that's honking?
You didn't see him?
I saw a dude very disheveled, but I didn't think he was getting it.
An old man came out of the car.
Oh, he's an old man. You can't yell at an old man. How old?
Old.
No.
Decrepit?
Oh, old. He's like 8.
Go check it out, Colin. Come back with a time on this one. But you liked Uncharted more than Inside.
I did like Uncharted more than Inside. I think also Uncharted, I have so many good things to say about it in terms of like how much of a masterpiece it was.
Yeah.
Like it did so much right. But I also think that Inside on the other end did so much right in terms of being something that's new
Different
and
in gameplay.
and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no, don't get me wrong,
and,
don't get me wrong.
I mean, but I don't want to give Inside this gameplay like award as being amazing. It's like, no, okay, it's a good, it nailed its gameplay, but its gameplay was nothing revolutionary. It's something we've seen before.
Yeah, but I mean, to Inside's gameplay, I think sure, but I think it was what was revolutionary. What was great about it was the flow of it, the way it stitched together. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I love this mechanic. When am I going to get back to it? It was the fact that game felt like a breeze. is in terms of being easy. In terms of it had this great flow to it the entire time I played it, where it wasn't, oh shit, what do I do here? How do I do this? Where do I go next? What happens here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so distracting. Like, what? I don't even understand. Like, what could be causing this?
I don't know, he's just standing there with what looks like his keys in his hand.
He doesn't understand the car. It's maybe not his.
He's stealing a car?
Maybe he's borrowing it.
Should I go talk to him?
No.
Yell at him again.
Go ahead and give him a yell real quick.
I thought you said we shouldn't yell at old
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
How
go
old
ahead.
was he? We never got your
I didn't
verdict.
think he looked that old. What my question was, is he decrepit? And the answer is no. So
The answer is no.
The best is just that we never do podcasts this late, and we
Yeah.
just have to get this done, and
Yeah.
we can't. This is like how it's gonna be.
I also love that this is like, I think honestly kind of funny in a nutshell, that this is the kind of funny game of the year discussion that like certain people that are not our people are gonna think that this video represents who we are, and guess what?
it does.
It does.
This is 100% what kind of funny is.
This is
You
us
will live with it.
in a nutshell. But I don't know. Uncharted 4, it's hard for me to want to give it game of the year just because it is something that we've had so many times, and yeah, it does it better than the other ones, I think. But it's also just kind of like it's more of like it kind of reminds me of Star Wars. You don't give Star Wars movie of the year.
It's because the Academy sucks. All right, I said it. No one else will say it. The Academy sucks. If it ain't artsy fartsy and it ain't Leonardo DiCaprio sucking some guy off and uppercutting a bear,
Well, so then
nobody wants to
inside
see it.
wins in that sense.
You imagine
What's going on here?
if Leonardo DiCaprio punched a bear? I liked that movie. Not the Anyways, no, I understand. Like Uncharted 4 does in a way feel like a cheat code. I don't react till you guys react to it. When you react,
What the fucking hell?
I'm gonna go down there and try
Go talk to him, Kevin.
Kevin, please.
Give him a piece of your
I
mind.
felt like an idiot though.
He doesn't know it's you. You're coming from a random ass doorway.
No, he looked at me because
Just be like, excuse me, sir. I'm the fantasy movie league winner. I'll help you out.
Hi, I brought a screwdriver. I'm going to disconnect your car alarm, seeing as how you aren't equipped to handle it. I do understand what you're saying, that Uncharted 4 in a way feels like a cheat code, right, for Game of the Year.
It's not his car.
I thought so, right?
It's the car to the right, but they both have their indicators on.
Cool. Will you bring me a beer? So, Uncharted 4 feels like a cheat code, right? Because it is like part of the reason it means so much and why the story resonates so much is the fact that there's been 4 games before it. And I know these characters and I know them and their storylines and I love them already. So, jumping in and getting to finally see what Nate's real life would look like and what married life would look like and what it would mean to have someone introduced to his life and have Sully for one last go around and Elena and them have these conversations that I've been waiting a decade for them to have. It's awesome. And so, but I understand. Thank you very much. All that said, I still think it is the game of the year. I mean, in terms of all that said, the set pieces, the gameplay, the story. I just love it.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to you? What is it protecting? It's like
I mean,
it's.
purpose. You know, why have those if we don't use them?
I see. Okay, well I respect that answer.
Your fly down?
Why have it if you don't use it, Kevin? Oh my god.
I liked how you said this is the most kind of funny thing that could happen, though, and it is. It really is.
It really is. Man, yeah, no, Uncharted is. You say the cheat code, and that's right, but I don't even want to take away from it though, because it is such a good game.
Yeah.
it is such a.
Well, and that's the
just
thing is,
a-
I think even without all that context, and I know this is something we talked about a lot when it came out. Even without the context, which definitely elevates it to another degree, I think you would get in there and understand that this guy used to do stuff, and okay, why is this happening, and still enjoy the experience, still enjoy the game, and understand that it's a great game.
Yeah, that's true, but I also think that it's very similar to the Metal Gear Solid 4 argument, where it's just like I think that game is awesome, but it's way better when you know how.
Sure.
It's way better and also like significantly improved when you have the lore of all the fucking previous games.
I love it now. Now I've come full circle on it.
Can they even hear it?
You can hear it a bit.
Okay. Anyways, like Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of my favorite games of all time, and especially even that year, that would have been my game of the year. But it's also like I get that it's not the game of the year, because
Yeah.
of all that stuff. And with Uncharted,
But I don't think this is the
it's a
exact
little
same
bit- I think
situation.
it's a little bit different, but it's like, I mean, it is just an action romp, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you can kind of jump in anywhere, and like your ability to connect with the characters and all that stuff. Like, yeah, it's the game is in story is improved because of the experience of the past couple of games. But I don't know. It's like there's something about it. It's like I want to argue against it being game of the year.
Okay.
You know, but I don't really have too many arguments that I'm like, that's why. But I just feel like I'm like, no.
That's the problem with sequels in general, right? When these come around and they are, especially like, let's say, I mean, I don't know, that's a bad example, but sequels in general are going to do something that's been done before, and so that you do want that fresh, that new thing, that came and caught us off guard this year in games.
It's also delirium.
It's the end of a long day, which has already been part of a long week that is not even remotely over. Like we're all exhausted.
Yeah.
We had to stop the Gamescast to do the Patreon Q&A. Now we're finishing it off, and now this fucking car alarm.
We did Call It a Greg Live, million phone calls, million other things. Then there was another Gamescast.
Yeah.
Then this Gamescast.
Yesterday was two what, a PS I Love You and a Gamescast? No,
two PS I Love Yous? No, PS I Love You and a Gamescast, 2 PS I Love Yous on Monday.
Yeah.
I love it, man. We're definitely doing some
We
things.
love you guys.
We're cranking.
We're making all the content
yeah,
for
and
you.
it's I honestly do believe, going back to what you're saying, that Overwatch is the game of the year in terms of all the things we're talking about for the game of the year stuff. And that
For the
it is
games industry is what you're saying.
Yeah. And
Not for kind of funny.
And again, that gets hard because I do think Overwatch is my game of the year.
Sure.
Because it is a game that it took me by surprise. I would have never thought that I would like it, and I totally do. And I'm gonna keep playing it. And I think that's something special. Whereas Uncharted is like, I'm not going back to it. The DLC, hell yeah, that's gonna be great, but it's a different experience. But I mean, Uncharted, I couldn't take away from it. I can't find the arguments to say that it isn't game of the year.
Such a heartfelt discussion. Great discussion. We're having this is a good show.
This guy back here is like, what's going on?
This whale's high as fuck.
You can hear it in the podcast.
Oh man.
Then turn on your mic and let them hear it on the next go round, because here it comes. It's coming up any second. Open up your window. Let them hear it. Let them go. Let them know what's happening on our side here,
At the
Kev.
beginning, they must have been able to hear.
Can you hear that now, Kev?
Hold on. Barely.
I need to see this.
It's driving me insane.
I love it. This is great. This really is a great fucking end cap to what we are. No! Fuck no. Are you kidding me? We should make a trophy. Something to give people. You know what I mean? Just make more faces. No.
Right on it.
Neil Druckmann's already got that. Fuck it. Let's do it. Send it down to Naughty Dog.
You guys have never seen this before, but this is a bottle with the sacred symbols on it.
Oh. What is even setting it off? Is somebody parked too
I've
close?
seen it with my own eyes. There's this fucking car just parked there. The alarm's going off. It stops for a second and then just goes back on. There's nothing hidden it. This is bullshit.
I'm gonna
This
go make.
battery's gonna die.
I'm gonna go make an Instagram video of it and hashtag second screen experience, and it'll make no sense today, December 14th.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll tell you what, you watch this episode, it'll make plenty of sense.
So Colin, is there any other games that you think are even in consideration?
No, I was just looking at my list and thinking about what the other game. I mean, it's got to be between an Uncharted and Inside, specifically because of the ubiquity between all of our lists. And I also think that they probably are the two supreme games of the year in my mind. So it's got to be one or the other. I have no problem giving it to Uncharted. I think that's totally fine. I think Inside's more deserving, but I think that Uncharted is certainly a fine choice for the award, and I don't think there's any regret in giving it the award. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is a real fitting episode. I'm happy about it. Once Greg comes back, we're gonna wrap it up. You know what? It just started again. We're gonna leave here, ladies and gentlemen. I love you.
Happy New Year.